Welcome to Offsite Dirt, the podcast committed to news and insight in the offsite construction industry. Join our team of experts covering modern methods of construction, high-performance build, lean manufacturing, prefab, and beyond. Here's the dirt on Offsite Dirt. Hello and welcome to Offsite Dirt. My name's Audrey Grabesic, and I'm so happy that you're here because you get an insider of one of our contributors. Sneha Kumari is this brilliant female that is not only strong in Merlin AI, which is a software technology platform, but also lean manufacturing, supply chain, circular economy, and more. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you all for being here. Sneha, how are you?
I'm doing so good, and this is amazing, right? Now sitting across the table with you and getting interviewed. So super pumped for this one. Hey, everyone.
I am too, and I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad that we're creating this opportunity to allow people to know, a little bit more about the future factory setups and how it's designed. But before we get into that, can you just give our audience a little bit more background on all of your accomplishments over the past decade?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I'll start with saying that for more than a decade, all I have done is just implementing lean, um, keeping myself up to date with what's happening in the world of lean. I'm a Six Sigma certified professional, and I've done supply chain end-to-end implementations for and process improvements for manufacturing industries. And then I moved that to prefabrication manufacturing, and then eventually started working for modular construction industries. And in all this experience, all I have learned is the culture of continuous improvement has to keep going for every single factory, it is something that has to be a part or ingrained in the culture of any business. And I am here to manage that change, to drive companies on that path and unlock productivity for them. In a nutshell, that's pretty much a short summary of what my and you'll say that I don't share a lot of other accomplishments. So I'm definitely a big ambassador for circular economy. I also volunteer for this organization, Circular Supply Chain Network. We have been blogging, reading, writing a lot about power of supply chains in making a circular economy happen. One of the top 40 women to follow when it comes to ERP, powered by SourceDay. I'm also was recognized as top 40 women in the country, recognized by McKinsey for operations to follow. So yeah, small little bit accomplishments there, but overall the goal has always been to walk companies on the path of continuous improvement and leanifying them.
Oh my gosh, I love how you make it seem such small little accomplishments, world experience, not to mention your profound expertise with some of the largest manufacturers in the world. So, Sneha, I am going to make a big fuss about it. I am going to tell your story because it's extraordinary to do the amount of things that you have done in a small amount of time and have such passion. The other day, I was talking with a consultant that does offsite construction, kind of very similar to where you're at. And we were having this defining conversation about the employees and the culture of the business and saying how we're having difficulties with employees and this and that. And the conversation then led to it's really not ever the employees that are the issue. The issue is that we don't have lean manufacturing practices or implementations in order to make our productivity more efficient. And so when we really talk about that, especially in the factory element and talking about assembly and assembly focus and your expertise going into these factories, what is the future factory setup and how do you see it, especially in the offsite construction industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna start from the basics and just stick to that. Um, what's the process for me, right? And I look at it as a process that uses guiding principles to orchestrate the sequence of improvement actions that's required to deliver an ideal state of a future factory, right? And that's the vision. That's the vision. Or thought process is a thought process that I go with when I am looking at such projects. Now, why do we do it? Right? We do it because we want to, we have created a long-term vision of this plant layout, or probably have a vision, right? We have a vision of what winning looks like, right? And what we want to do is convert that vision, right, to allow for every equipment, for every person, for every process, like all of this to move to support that long-term vision, to optimize the space, for example, right? And to just like music, all of these things moving to make that vision, that concept of winning happen for my clients who is trying to implement this future factory. So that's pretty much how I whenever I come in and I'm trying to educate a little more about future factory, I try to talk about. But I have my own set of steps and processes that I follow, and I'm going to touch upon a little bit on some of those. Like, what is an current ideal state for a future factory? What will that be, right? And if you're thinking about it, just think about. Sorry, I'm going to throw some jargons here, and if we'll get into the details for those too. But pretty much a value stream consolidation linkage. We'll talk about one piece flow, meaning a module moving from stations to finally, like the different parts of a module moving from in stations to finally become a module towards the end, right? You might have assemblies, sub-assemblies all going into a module, then making that up. And how will that flow as a one piece flow? Space and flow optimization is a big consideration when you're thinking about factory. My coming from the background of lean visual management, everything should be visual. So from starting from your tools, 5S is a big and a very fundamental functions of lean, and should not be, and the power of 5S should not be taken lightly. Visual management is pretty much helping your employees see what they need right at the fingertips, so they are not wasting time in either finding things or organizing, or not being able, or spending time in something that's non-value added, right? And the last one I would say is collocate. All these support functions that sit with your that is needed for, say, a particular assembly, they need to be co-located, they need to be close by, right? So you're taking inputs and you're making an output, and all of this is so close, is that the lead time or the cycle time of a particular operation just is phenomenally optimized. So I mean, these are some of the things that I will help you walk through, help my clients walk through and consider when you're thinking about an ideal state, right? And how do you, I mean, we can get into how I design and stuff, but there are some guiding principles that you have to follow when you're thinking about flow, when you're thinking about making sure that, again, co-location, right? When you are thinking about eliminating any storage, and moving inventory around, and minimizing the size, there's this term in Japanese, and I probably cannot pronounce it pretty well, but that means that it's a revolutionary change, and it's a radical shift, right, in thinking. And you have to look at this. That's how I want to pursue every time I'm pursuing. That's how I would like my customers to look at this whole vision, and how this whole change is going to radically shift their operations, the mindset, the culture, and eventually, the growth that's coming for them.
Amen. So many wonderful pieces of information in there. Flow optimization, everything from tools to people to 5S. Love that. Visual management. We were talking with, or I was talking with one of my clients that actually owns a factory. And the thing is, we can all envision what we think lean is, productivity, your visual management. But unless you have somebody that actually has the expertise, that has walked the floor, that has studied these principles, it's not just oh, we just make a little small section for them and they're going to figure it out. It literally is a step-by-step process of not only visualization, but explanation and understanding how that flow works, right? Sneha, is that an understanding that is correctly approached through this process?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, flow is a big term, right? And people a lot of times don't understand. But I just want to make sure that when you talk about flow, think about materials, think about information, both, right? You're talking about both. And it is actually, and then of course, eventually when you organize these, then your process flows. Um, but what I would say is it's an art. It's an art, it's a skill of actually visualizing your your factory operations in a way that it just flows smoothly from the start of it to finally a finished good that's delivered to your customer. And it's an art of seeing that flow. But then as you said, like while you are doing that, while you're optimizing for flow, it's important that you think about as I said, like something as basic as 5S, right? You come in, you actually optimize, you to actually make your um the plan, uh you sort out, you set it in order, you shine, you standardize, and then you sustain it. Right? Those are the 5S we want to talk. We're talking about. And so you do all of that. That really helps you get organized. And then while you're doing that, you have some tool boards and some basic stuff that actually organize every single workstation that you are in, right? And once that is right, you are now actually setting your employees for success when you establish that one piece flow. Something as simple as that, right? You cannot have all of that if each of the workstations that you're working in isn't as organized as you would like them to be. um, and yeah, I mean, being my role is to come in and actually have my customers visualize what does that one piece flow looks like. And it doesn't always have to be a very straightforward. When I'm saying one piece flow, it's not like, okay, one, it's just has to be like in a direction. There are multiple operations, like, you might have some paint areas or some other tooling stuff that needs to happen. And there are some concepts like current operations that can happen in parallel. And those are the things I'm come in, I educate, I optimize, and then you actually see how much cycle time you're unlocking, how much earn hours you have optimized for. And then finally, you actually didn't even know how much space you had in that factory that I just made up, like that I come in and help you see, envision, and finally achieve it.
So interesting because you and I have talked about factories being 10,000 square feet, factories being 50,000 square feet. We have these big players in the industry that have these 125,000 square feet, these 250,000 square feet, these million square foot factories. And it doesn't mean that that's always the right assembly for what you're creating and what you're doing. I love the musical orchestration. I love the words of flow and in considering what materials and information work within that process. All these words are so magical to me because I feel like it's more about integration. It's more about kindness and consideration and allowing people to be successful. And that's how I see lean manufacturing. And that's how I see the assets of the true value stream of what you offer, Sneha, to these businesses. Is there anything in closing that you'd like to share about your solutions to helping those factories?
Oh yeah, I'll just close with saying that you don't have, when you're looking at your factory and you're suddenly seeing a huge scope for growth. That's a very good problem to have. Now, when you have that, you also have to remember how you can do that while actually minimizing the cost that you probably are incurring today, right? You want to minimize on that because then your profit margins really, really go up. And that's what you want, right? So your revenue is going up, your costs are going down, and your margins are going up. So often, like, owners don't spend time in understanding that ultimately you want to look at profit margins. Yes, you want revenue, right? You want your business growth, but while your business is growing, you want to be profitable. For you to be profitable, you have to look at your costs. For you to look at your costs, I come in. You have an expert coming in, actually helping you understand all the different, like literally value stream mapping your entire business, right? From procure to pay to order to cash, right? And giving you a visual representation that you probably didn't even know about, of the waste, the bursts that you see in the process. You have to come in, you have to lean those, and then again, as I said, unlock productivity for yourself to be able to again minimize the costs. And you don't have to be alone on this journey. You have a lot of experts like me coming in, actually helping you in this journey of yours, with not just leanifying and then, but also like change managing and holding your hands while this culture is being implemented with your employees as well.
Well, you're hired. I love it. And I love that we can have more success in our industry and that we care about not only the people, but profitability. And as we always say in business, labor, materials, overhead are always our biggest cost. So if we can streamline those and figure out some solutions to even correct it by 2%, 10%, those are big numbers in anybody's column for profitability. Thank you so much, Sneha, for sharing your insight and your information on factory setup.
Thank you so much for having me, Audrey.
It's always a pleasure. And now you get a little bit more information on Leanify Construction with Sneha Kumari, our amazing contributor on Offsite Dirt. And there's another chapter and a little bit more on the dirt on Offsite Dirt. Thank you for being here.